If you look up the name Andrew Horning on Amazon, you'll find two books. One of them is a fantasy story set on a mythical island with kids and dragons, and a whole chapter on money, banking, and inflation. The other book is about our nation, its Republican constitutional law, with a whole chapter on money, banking, and inflation. So what? Am I obsessed with money, banking, and inflation? Yes. And if you're not, you will be soon if we the people don't do something about it and pronto. Hi, I'm Andy Horning, author of Relighting the Torch. Today, let's talk money. I hope it's now apparent to all that the unconstitutional, wholly corrupt, inherently divisive, two-party system puppet show we'd been warned against since our nation's founding is driving us to destruction. My book, Relighting the Torch, goes into much more detail of the constitutional and pragmatic aspects of money, banking, and inflation. But the short, oversimplified gist is that the more dollars our central bank prints that we then use in trade, the less each one is worth, which is why prices in those devaluating dollars go up. In the words of Milton Friedman, it's too many dollars chasing too few goods. Our founders already had experience with the hidden taxation, market distortion, and inflation of fiat currency, and crafted solutions that belong to us all along. We only need to learn and use them. Bankers don't have to be a den of vipers and thieves, as described by Andrew Jackson. If we had sound money, as both state and federal constitutions still demand, over issuance of monetary debt instruments to cover government overspending, and the market disruption and persistent inflation that invariably results, would be practically impossible. Our current unconstitutional fiat currency, central bank, and so-called modern monetary theory, or MMT, helps the rich get richer at the expense of everybody else. So today, if you're not in the investment class, you're paying them for it. But MMT, with its inevitable Cantillon effect, was doomed to failure from our government's implementation of it in 1913, because it's based on a few catastrophically and invariably debunked notions. Number one, fiat currency, or the creation of unbacked monopoly money out of nothing. This becomes a hidden tax, debt engine, and means of transferring wealth from the poor and middle classes up. Number two, zero reserve banking, or lending money, even fiat currency, that the bank doesn't own or have even a fraction of other people's money on hand. Fractional reserve banking isn't all bad, but the Fed eliminated the requirement to hold even a fraction of deposits on reserve during the COVID madness. This practically ensures bank runs and closures fairly soon. Number three, forever debt. The idea that a government can keep spending fake money that doesn't exist, doesn't belong to it anyway, which both increases debt costs, requires the Fed to fabricate more devaluating dollars, which erodes the trust of the whole system until it inevitably collapses. As economist Robert Stein said, if something cannot go on forever, it will stop. So before our monetary monster dies and collapses down upon us, let's do hurry. I propose that all states invoke Article 1, Section 10 of the Federal Constitution, which forbids states from making, quote, anything but gold and silver coin a tender in payment of debts, unquote, including, quite literally, our unconstitutional and inflationary aforementioned Federal Reserve U.S. dollars. Indiana's Constitution, Article 10, Section 3, already demands that, quote, all paper credit designed to be circulated as money be readily convertible into specie for the redemption of the same in gold or silver, unquote. Article 11, Section 7 says, quote, all bills or notes issued as money shall be at all times redeemable in gold or silver, and no law shall be passed sanctioning directly or indirectly the suspension by any bank or banking company of specie payments, unquote. In other words, a return to a monetary system that's been proven to be stable, functional, and a means for the poor to get richer for over 3,000 years, and is already, and still, the law. Several states, and indeed many nations, are already looking into or even implementing this. Texas is on the cusp of a state-issued gold-backed digital currency. We can discuss the ominous nature of the digital part later, but At least the state will hold gold on behalf of the digital currency holders, with trade being 1-to-1 without fractional reserve fudging. Utah already passed a bill to accept federally issued gold and silver coins as legal tender to pay taxes. There are commercial apps like GlintPay that are backed by physical gold holdings, yet allow simple digital transactions that are at least as easy as a credit card. And past court cases held that increases in the value of monetary gold against the Fed's fiat dollars would not be taxable. In other words, no capital gains tax from this hedge against dollar inflation. This is all very doable right now and would give us a stable means for business, savings growth, and daily life, even when today's banking systems fail. And they will. At the federal level, I'd reintroduce Ron Paul's old Free Competition in Currency Act to repeal the Coinage Act of 1965, which unconstitutionally decrees that, quote, Federal Reserve notes and circulating notes of Federal Reserve banks and national banks are legal tender for all debts, public charges, taxes, and dues, unquote. And I also propose we, of course, end the Fed. But let's be very clear, none of this will happen as long as voters keep re-electing the status quo cronies who benefit from the transfer of wealth from you to them. We have to vote out these liars, thieves, and bums. All of them. Both the ones we see on the ballot and those that lurk behind the curtains and closed doors. That is what Election Day is for, you know. It is our power of peaceful revolution, and God knows we need such an epiphany in action right now while we still have it. That's all. Thanks for listening. Liberty or bust. Have a great day.